ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ትችላላችሁ።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ ጥያቄና መልስ የክፍል ስራዎች ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁት አይነት በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ ከናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
Sorry for the inconvenience related to some arrangements. No problem, but we can have educate time. And then I say sorry for the different reasons that somehow beyond like connectivity and related issues. Anyway, we can proceed from what we have stopped yesterday. So, in our yesterday's discussion, we were on this point. This point is export and import financing. I can cancel the rest. So remember, we are dealing with international business or global business. And by nature, global business involves lots of transactions, and at least we need to know some of the basic ones. That's why we really, this is really the key part of the course, by the way. If we are involving in international business, especially in relation to export and importing business, I asked you one practical question in our yesterday's class. Assume you are exporter from Ethiopia to, let's say, to Germany. So you are the seller, it means you are the seller in Ethiopia, or from the Horn of Africa to the buyer in Germany. So at least we cannot list all of the detailed steps. We can see the major ones in this case. This is really the globally applied and standard one, but there are some minor additional steps and sub-steps. So now let's see how we are really dealing with that. Normally, I asked you yesterday, can you discuss the basic steps involved in export financing? By the way, the term export financing has two dimensions. The first one is the macro level dimension, where government is subsidizing and supporting even its own enterprise business, or even to support the export sector. Government may have a policy of supporting like financial related supports, for instance, providing loans with zero or minimum amount of interest. So export financing means it could be facilitating the export sector through various financial incentive mechanisms. So this is the macro level, but what we'll see today is just a transaction level. Export financing means how the export transaction is conducted in a particular buyer-seller perspective, let's say from exporter-importer perspective. So this is really the practical one, by the way. And then this is very common in most of the exporters across the globe, we can say. Some of the countries may add some of the steps, and others may subtract or may reduce the steps depending on the level of strictness they have over the international business environment. Therefore, what I can say is that consider yourself as the exporter. Consider yourself as the exporter, and then your buyer is in Germany, and then what are really the steps that you need to really involve? Why don't you simply believe the importer? You can believe the importer in Germany, and then you can simply send him, don't worry, I'm exporting a value of $10 million product. I trust you that you can send me. Can you do like that? You will not do like that. Huh? So what we are saying is there are a number of steps that really involve in financing the export business. Steps. Remember, steps. Why these steps? The existence of all these steps is due to lack of trust. So these steps are there to resolve the lack of trust or to build trust in the transaction process. To build trust, banks will be involved. To build trust, a number of government and private sector agencies will be involved. So remember, really, you need to understand the context. Trust is really a very important matter. It is because of the basic necessities of trust that all these lengthy steps are really involved. So the first alternative is, the question is what? You know, if you are an Ethiopian exporter to a customer in Germany, the first alternative is like effective payment of the products even before shipping. The first and the easiest for me is the German buyer or the German importer simply just send the money or effect the payment before shipping. That will be the preference of the Ethiopian exporter. As an exporter, you want to get the money even before shipping. The opposite also for the German partner. So you are an Ethiopian exporter or seller, and then and the German importer is there. So the first option is what? First, the German importer simply pays for the goods, and then you will have that trust, and then you will export ships, or you export or you ship the commodities after being paid. This is really normally the preference of many of the exporters. This is still works, by the way. However, if the value of or if the commodity total value is getting higher, this may not work. This works especially on situations where there is a solid relationship or a solid trust between the two who are involved in the transaction, between the seller and the buyer, I mean, between the exporter and the importer. Alternatively, to ensure importer receives the products, the German importer will prefer not to pay until they arrive, by the way. So the preference of the German importer or any importer will be what? First, first the exporter ships the goods, then I will pay, say. Just put yourself both in the place of the importer and the exporter. So it's not this way, but the first way is that the Ethiopian exporter first ships the goods, and then the German importer pays after the goods are received. These are the two options, but it's not as easy as like what we're really saying. Thus, each party has a different set of preference. The exporter prefers the payment of goods before dispatch, whereas the importer prefers the receival of commodities before payment has done. So, if this is the situation, and if they don't come together, no, I need that. The other one says, no, it's my preference. There will not be any import and export. So there should be some way, it says, unless there is some way of establishing, unless there is a mechanism of establishing trust between the parties, the transaction never occur. It means there will never be an export or import business. So this was the ideal situation. So there should be some kind of mechanism, we are saying. So this problem will be solved by the appointment or by the use of a third party trusted by both banks. If they are not trust each other, what's made is that they establish what? A reputable institution, mainly banks. For example, the Ethiopian exporter says, I believe the commercial bank of Ethiopia. But the German buyer may not believe the commercial bank of Ethiopia. But the German importer still says, I believe the German Deutsche Bank. But the Ethiopian seller may not believe that still. So one bank is enough, it means. Therefore, it's not only one bank. So anyway, there need to be a bank that can really act as an intermediary. Therefore, what will happen? The German importer will have an account in the German bank, whereas the Ethiopian exporter will have, let's say, an account with an Ethiopian bank. So the first step is what? The importer obtains bank's promise to pay on importer's behalf. So the importer normally, it really secures the banks. Which banks? His own country's bank, German's bank, to pay on importer's behalf. And then bank promises exporter to pay on behalf of the importer. This is the second step. The Ethiopian, especially. The bank promises the exporter to pay on behalf of the importer. But through what? Through, in that case, then the exporter ships to the bank, quote unquote. The bank is not buying the commodities, but since it believes the bank, the exporter really ships to the bank, trusting the bank's promise to pay, what you call the promissory note. And the fourth step will be then bank pays the exporter, and the fifth step will be then the bank gives merchandise to the importer, and then the importer pays to the bank. Anyway, this is what equal to the bank means on behalf of the buyer. So this is one option, by the way. This is the way how at least 20 or 30% of the way that international transaction is really conducting. So the bank can really serve as an intermediary. If, let's say, one of the bank is believed, if they really choose one bank, but they may not even agree on the utilization of one bank. A typical international transaction between let's say, a company of USA and a company of France. I really said USA and France because to take our case as a real example, a lot of changes that are really made frequently. So at least it's better to consider some really practiced international export financing system. So read this one. The first thing is the transaction between the two companies where one is in the USA and the other is in France. Let's say the French importer places order with the US exporter, and it asks the American if he would be willing to ship under a letter of credit. Then the US exporter may agree, or if it's not agree, because they are already on the well-established international transaction system, then the US exporter more normally agrees to ship or to send the products under a letter of credit and specifies relevant information such as price and delivery items. I mean, this is a letter of credit. Then the French importer applies to the Bank of Paris, normally, let's say, for a letter of credit to be issued in favor of the US exporter for the merchandise that the importer wishes to really import or wishes to buy. Then the Bank of Paris normally issues a letter of credit in French importers or in favor of the French importer, and definitely it sends it to the US exporters bank, let's say the Bank of New York. Then what to do? Then the Bank of New York advises the exporter for the opening of a letter of credit in his favor. Then the US exporter ships the goods to the French importer on a common carrier, on agreeable carrier. Then an official of the carrier gives exporter like what you call it, a bill of lading. So there are a lot of involvements. Read them. So normally what's happening in the US exporter presents like a 90-day time draft. We call it 90-day time draft. It's really an international standard. That's a commonly used one. A 90-day time draft that's actually drawn on the Bank of Paris in accordance with this letter of credit and the bill of lading transport, to the Bank of New York. The exporter normally is expected to endorse the bill of lading, so there will be a title or to the goods transferred to the Bank of New York. So the banks really play a great role in this case. Then the Bank of New York, what did it do? The Bank of New York sends the draft and the bill of lading to the Bank of Paris. Then the Bank of Paris accepts the draft, taking the possession of documents and a promise to pay. The now accepted draft from the time of acceptance in 90 days. So this is really how the draft really processes the draft. Therefore, the Bank of Paris then returns the accepted draft to the Bank of New York. Once that draft is getting approved, the Bank of New York tells the US exporter, because it is a customer in the US, its customer, that it has received the accepted bank draft, which is normally payable in 90 days and even with additional, let's say, conditions or like that. The exporter sells the draft to the Bank of New York at a discount from its face value, and receives the discounted cash value of the draft in return. Then the Bank of Paris, it will notify the French importer of the arrival of the documents when it's really there. It's not the arrival of the commodities, but the arrival of documents. Let's say she agrees to pay the Bank of Paris in 90 days. All the signatures will be approved. Then the Bank of Paris releases the documents. So the importer means the one who is importing, being in Paris, or the French importer can take the possession of ownership or the possession of shipment. Therefore, in 90 days, this is international, commonly applied duration, the Bank of Paris receives importer's payment. The Bank of Paris receives importer's payment, so it has funds to pay the maturing draft. Maturing draft means before the maturity date, before that 90 days has arrived. Therefore, in 90 days, the holder of the maturity accepted. In this case, normally the Bank of New York, it will deliver or present to the Bank of Paris for payment, and then the Bank of Paris really pays. This is really the shortest, it's a typical transaction, and it is one of the shortest and highly re-engineered way of really financing the exportable commodities. At least we will have how many stages? What they are around 24, but I try to really summarize them like into 13 important stages. So in terms of picture, I try to do it like this. Already the importer, you see this American exporter is here. The American exporter has its own account and its own attachment with the Bank of New York. Why the American exporter simply agrees to send to the French importer? Because of trust. ተቋም የሚገነባው ተቋሞች እንዲኖሩ የሚፈለገው ትልቁ ነገር የትረስት ማተር ነው። Trust really matters. So the American exporter is not much trustful than Bank of New York. The Bank of New York is much trustful than American exporter. This is the issue of trust matters. It's not only trust these days, by the way. There are a lot of damage, a lot of challenges. There are also insurance issues, whatever. I didn't really enter into detail this much. If you are interested, you can really involve the states involved in the context of Ethiopia where there are a lot of changes even monthly and biannually. So the American exporter with attachment of the Bank of New York, whereas the French importer, his own country's bank, let's say Bank of Paris, or then who will initiate it? Okay, one of them may initiate it. One of them initiate. So normally what's happened is document orders. The French buyer or the importer really order goods. Just ordering, it doesn't request you anything. They say you can organize with some kind of specification, you will order it. And then the American exporter agrees to fill the order. He will explain this order. Okay, we have these commodities, and then you may have a number of interchanges in this case, and even adjustment of the products, and then like that, some detailed exchange of information may be there between the two. The third step, once the French importer got the response of agreement from the American exporter, then the French importer arranges kind of letter of credit. This letter of credit, what is it? I will tell you, or you can read it from what's letter of credit, bill of lading, drafts. እነዚህ terms ማወቅ አለባቸው as an international student, international business student. The importer arranges for letter of credit to the Bank of Paris, and then it's not this. Then their communication will be after this, after the bank. Their communication is only here. Okay. Then after that, they really they will agree that we can really do it. Which bank is your preference? Or my preference is, let's say, if it's Danske Bank, say Danske Bank, or if it is the Bank of New York, or this one is also the Deutsche Bank, or simply the same. But normally, they really prefer their own banks, Bank of Paris. And then after receiving letter of credit from the French importer, the Bank of Paris will do what? The Bank of Paris sends letter of credit to the Bank of New York. There are a number of formalities, signatures, and then valuation issues through the bank. Now, the Bank of New York, then the Bank of New York informs the exporter, oh, Mr. Exporter, your letter of credit has arrived. Please come to me and do something, if he will inform you. And then after that, the American exporter, they agree, they really, because they have both the documents, if something happens here or here, they really are attached with the bank. And these two banks, if there are some informalities, they even really discuss independently without really informing them. Then the goods will be shipped to France. The goods will be shipped to France, while the good issue, parallel to this, the exporter presents draft to the bank saying that I already shipped the bank through, let's say, through export agencies or በውጪ ወይም በእነዚህ በሀገር ውስጥ ገቢ ወይም ጉምሩክ ላይ የካስተም ኢሹ ስለሚኖር ከዛ በሚያገኘው ዶክመንት the exporter present the draft to this bank. That draft, that really the evidence, which is the official evidence, which shows that these goods with a value of this much dollar are really sent to the French importer, let's say Mr. whatever. Then parallelly, these two things will be done. And then immediately after deciding this, even before the arrival of the goods, the Bank of New York, which is a customer bank of American exporter, the Bank of New York presents the draft to the banks in Paris. Okay, this draft, he will approve it. Yeah, your customer, please, Mr. Frenchman has already do that. The Bank of New York then present to the Bank of Paris. Then the Bank of Paris returns the accepted draft. Oh, I will accept it, and everything is done in agreement per the agreement that I made with my importer. Let's say my importer means my French importer, and then the Bank of Paris returns the accepted draft to the Bank of New York. Okay. Then, when this acceptance is read, step 10 and 11, the exporter sells the draft to the bank. Okay. Yeah, that's the value, just directly selling the value, indirectly exchanging the product to that. And then finally, the bank tells the importer about the arrival of the documents, and the importer pays the bank, and the last one is the Bank of New York presents maturity draft and gate payments. So you can see this is, by the way, a typical transaction that involves in international trade, particularly the import-export issues. However, international trade is not free from risk, especially international trade associated to exporter. Let's say the trade transaction time, if you see in the initial time or in the initial invest quotation of price and whatever is a export and contract to be signed, and then in these two things really require a big deal of negotiation, and success in negotiation depends on the level of bargaining power you have, and then goods will be shipped, and then between those there are also what, once the negotiation is made, how much goods should be produced, maybe the producer, maybe the other company, whereas the exporter is still the other company. There are a number of really risks on this agreement. Documents may be accepted or they may not be accepted, good may be received, and then cash settlements. So all these documents are really accomplished through documentation process, but these things are not really easy. However, the financial period is considered from to this one. But remember, if you are not much faster, a lot of money will be attached with the products that you can have to get the finance after passing all the steps. So I mean, there are a number of exporter-related risks. So basic elements of an import-exporter transaction. There are important documents, I was saying like that. Each individual export sales transactions covers at least 3 basic elements. The first important element is the contract, and the third one is the second one is the pricing issue, and the third one is documents that are really involving critical matters in this case. When there's a contract, that contract describes the description of goods. It may include the quantity, quality, grading, technical details, and even payment instructions. And the prices they do, like shipping charges or insurance fees, like FOB and free on board. There are a number of arrangements you can read, by the way. I think most of you are with business background. Even if you are not business background, you can be like transportation arrangements like FOB and FBI, like that, free on board. Who will pay, for example, the transit. There are a number of international agreements on this one. And the documents regarding shipping and delivering instructions, this may include the BL and the CI. The bill of lading is normally issued to the exporter by a common carrier transaction for the merchandise. Commercial invoice, it's normally issued by the exporter, and it's composed or it contains a precise description of the merchandise, the unit of prices, financial items of sale, and the amount of due from the importer, like FOB free on board, like FAS free alongside ship. Like free alongside ship means the seller probably will be forced to really not only consider the packaging of materials on his shop, but at least until the port of the buyer. These are what we call them the free alongside ship, the free on board, the CFR, the cost and freight, or the price may be inclusive of both cost or freight. This is the cost, insurance, and freight. If the price is inclusive of all this, it will be, this is very good for the seller, by the way, the buyer. So there are a number of angles. This is what called the commercial invoice. It's a type of invoice that describes all these units price arrangements. Still, there are a number of documents. I cannot list all the documents, and if you are interested, you can visit the Ethiopian Export Promotion Agency website, and then you can see what are the requirements and what are the issues that are expected to, what documents are really generated at which stage. The other thing is insurance document. It must be as specified in the contract of sales, and it should be issued by the insurance companies of their agents, and even some consular invoices, like in the case of exporting, like the consulate of the importing country may provide custom-related information so that products may not be inundated at the port, or they may not inundate at the port because of what? Because of new laws or custom information and relevant statistics for the country. and it will be helpful even to really prevent falsification of declaration of some important values. Even packaging lists. These packaging lists may be required so that the contents of containers can be identified either for customer purpose or even for import identification of the contents of separate containers. So there are a number of documents that are really being exchanged, but thanks for the emerging and today's global technology, most of the issues are getting easier, or even some of the hassles are being reduced by the arrival of technologies, and then second, by the establishment of a number of regional collaborations. For example, if you go to European Union, all those, if the agreement, for example, if the importer is, let's say, in France and if the exporter is in Denmark, all these 14 steps may not be as such necessary. All of the countries in European Union have a well-managed financial database, and if you made even a simple crime in one of the villages in Denmark, the police even in Spain will get you there. So it's just things are really getting easier and even tougher. For instance, you may want to go to, let's say, Belgium, and then you give ለምሳሌ የጣት አሻራ ብትሰጡ in one of the European countries, automatically it will be available even in all European Union countries, and definitely I think through Interpol, I think there is an agreement that but governments are really cheating many of the global citizens. Almost it is available in many of the countries, even outside of Europe. So thanks for this intertwined technological advancements, things are almost getting easier. So the relevance of all these packaging lists and consular documents and even other important elements that will be discussed here, okay? Like the shipping deadline, the payment instructions, the packaging and the marking systems, the warranties, the issue of warranties, guarantees, and inspection, they all are important elements to develop in these documents. Sometimes we can have also a trade sale, and then the basic procedures. Normally, over many years, it says established procedures have arisen to finance international trade. There are some important procedures, or the basic procedure at restos, or the basic procedure normally relies on the interrelationship between three key documents. Please understand these documents. I may ask you in some important cases on your exam, what is a letter of credit LC, what is a draft and bill of lading. Please try to have adequate understanding of this. So variations in each type of these documents provide variety of ways even to absorb some of the shocks across the international trade transaction. So I think that's really a very, very important element that we need to see. Normally, a letter of credit is what's a letter of credit is a bank's conditional promise to pay. It's not a promise to pay, but conditional promise to pay. But on that condition, the importer or the exporter has agreed. It's a conditional promise to pay, and issued by a bank at the request of the importer, in which the bank promises to pay an exporter upon presentation of documents specified in the LC. Therefore, the rationale or the essence of a letter of credit is a promise of the issuing bank to pay against specified documents, which means that certain elements may be present in the bank. Certain elements means like issuing bank must receive a fee of like a fee for issuing the letter of credit. The bank's LC normally is expected to contain specified maturity date, mostly like 90 days, and the bank's commitment must have stated maximum amount to be really due, and then the bank's obligations must arise only on the presentation of some required specific documents. Therefore, the bank's customers must have what? Unqualified obligation to reimburse or repay the bank on some conditions of like payment delays or payment abnormalities. So letter of credit is really, it's a very important document within the conduct of international trade. The other important document is a draft. It's sometimes called bill of exchange. It's not bill of lading. A draft is called the BE, bill of exchange, and it is considered as the instrument that's normally used in international commerce to effect payment. Is really to effect payment. And it is written in order by the exporter. Remember, that one is by the promises related to the exporter, but it's really an issue. It should be issued by the bank to pay again the specific documents. Whereas when it comes to a draft, it is written and even sometimes prepared with advice of banks by the exporter, and then it instructs an importer or its agent. By the way, importers even may have agents that can facilitate, let's say, the French importer rather than the American bank, and even in addition to the French bank, the French importer may have an agent in the US that can facilitate or even assist or clarify things for the exporter in Washington. So the party initiating the draft is called the maker ይባላል, ወይም the drawer ይባላል, ወይም the originator ይባላል, while the counterpart is the drawee. So the agreement with እነዚህን terms ማወቅ ያስፈልጋል. For example, when you refer some international trade documents, there is a challenge with the drawee and there is a challenge with the originator, the maker ይባላል. In international trade ተምሬ ነበር። እነዚህ ሰዎች መቼ በደንብ አስተማሩ ብላችሁ እኛን እንዳትወቅኑ ማለት ነው. You need to really understand, and probably if possible by next time, I hope I'll be our final class, I may bring some of these documents from Ethiopian side so that you can at least see them, or I can send you by email how the draft looks like, how the B and the BL looks like. Normally in a commercial transaction where the buyer is a drawee, it is normally what calls the trade draft. It's a trade draft, or the buyer's bank when it's called bank draft, you know. From the buyer's perspective, it's called a bank draft, or even trade draft. But you know, the other thing is what call it like promissory note, banker's acceptance note. I think.
Thank you.
Banker's acceptance, normally that's what call it when a time arrives when a draft is accepted by the bank, it will be the banker acceptance. But if it's a great success, for example, somebody's bank draft is accepted like that. In developing countries like Ethiopia, there are a number of cases, I can tell you, much secret on this, the bankers, and then a number of like corruption kind of issues, but it's not easy. Facilitation in like that. You can really modernize banks and institutions, but mostly they cannot be free from at least some facilitation issues, especially if the banks will not have a well institutionalized service standard. 90 days የተባለውን በተለያየ ምክንያት ሊዘገይ ይችላል ምናምን እባክህ ፋሲሊቴት አድርግልኝ። እንደዚህ አይነት ከሆነ የሀገር ኢምፖርት ኤክስፖርት ስራ በአግባቡ ሊከናወን አይችልም። So it's very important not only to multiply the number of Ethiopian banks, but also to really standardize their service so that they can be fair for everybody who comes to them, and they can facilitate it. So anyway, you can read, and there are a lot of issues, like if the face amount is this much, if this is a commission for 6 months, and the amount received will be like that. So the banks have, what do the banks get on that? The number of what? A number of agreements or transactions, and then there are a number of commissions that are allocating. So if this is the face value of the material that will be exported, the exporter will get maybe this one. The remaining will remain under the custody of the hands of banks. So banks are also really benefit from import and export items. Exporters sometimes may discount the acceptance note in order to reduce the input upfront. Sometimes the acceptance note ከዚህ በታችም reduce አድርገው ባንኮች ቶሎ እንዲሰሩለት ቶሎ እንዲሰጡት ካለው ፕሬዠር አኳያ ስለሚያደርግ ምናልባት ይሄ 7% የሚለው አንዳንድ ጊዜ እስከ 12 እስከ 13% የሚሄድበት ጊዜ ሊሆን ይችላል። Bill of lading ጋር እንደዚሁ we can read. So there are very important regarding the protection of parties. Parties means all parties, especially the buyer and the seller, especially protecting the rights of buyers, exporters, importers, and the rights of exporters. The three key documents in this regard, there are important key documents that are really indicated in the previous slide. They can really have their own meaning or effect. These documents serve to determine who bears the financial loss, for example, in case of loss, like the issue of risk of non-completion of agreements, if the products, if the quality of the materials that are really arrived in the development, that's what call it risk of non-completion. Even financing the trade, you can really have some shortage, and then some key documents may be behind there. Anyway, there are important barriers that international traders really know. Trade barriers and gains from trade. This is something is a very different story. So far, what we have seen the stakes involved in import-export transaction, the parties involved in import-export transaction, and then the third one, the key documents that are really important that can facilitate the import and export transaction. In the fourth one, which I didn't write, is that the human element in our relationship that we have with the bankers can also really play a greater role, even sometimes much more than the written laws. Don't forget it, okay? So, having said this, trade is not simple. There are a number of trade barriers. Yeah, some of these trade barriers are called physical barriers and artificial barriers. Physical barriers is, for instance, the distance, like availability or unavailability of ocean for shipping, and then the port issue. All this, what you call them, the infrastructure, these all are what you call them physical barriers, okay? The artificial barriers are barriers that can be expressed in terms of institutions. Institutions, by the way, as business students, institutions, the term institutions can be classified into two. One is the hard institution, and the other is the soft institution. The hard institution, it means like the organization. For example, national aviation, call it, it's a hard institution. It has its own, let's say, buildings, has its own structure, its own human resource. Like the Ethiopian Ministry of Trade, it's a hard institution that you can physically get it. Whereas the soft institution includes the various laws, regulations, traditions that are written and non-written. This is what we call an institution. For instance, policy is an institution, but an organization that can make the policy is also called an institution, but it's also called organization. So these barriers can be classified this way. I'm sure if I can ask you, list and explain the different barriers to international trade, I'm sure, I know you are wonderful enough, you can really list a lot. One is like the physical barrier, the economic barriers, the political and cultural barriers, and even some important policy tools, like trade policy could be a barrier, like issues related to tariff, like quantitative limitation of import or export, which is called quota, and total blockage of products to be imported, let's say from Sudan, if I say. That's what you call it embargo. Embargo is total mahakama. Even others like subsidy, whatever, okay? These are some of the trade barriers that you can really understand. However, subsidy በምንልበት ጊዜ some countries ከሀገራቸው አልፈው በብሎክ ደረጃ ለምሳሌ በዩኒየን ደረጃ ማሰብ ስለሚጀምሩ አንዳንድ ጊዜ በአንድ ሀገር ብቻ ላይሆን ይችላል ማለት ነው። እኔ ብዙ ጊዜ ያው ኢንፍሉዌንሰር ልሆን እችላለሁ ካለኝ አካዳሚክ ኤክስፖዠር በዩሮፒያን ዩኒየን በምናይበት ጊዜ because even others are like going like North Americans are like Canada and America like going like that. Even if Trump is trying to build another fence that he's trying to make between Mexico and the US. And then even Asia, like the South Asian Trade Agreement, even the ECOWAS, like the Ethiopian, like the IGAD and related, that is actually governments and more politically inclined. So what I'm saying is EU is an ideal example to have a very successful trade policy among members. And then one of this is what we call it the Common Agricultural Policy of Europe. We call it the CAP. CAP is really one of the barrier for many of the Asian importers. I know there are a number of Indian and Chinese exporters that tries to export products, agricultural products, even to Europe. But much of the agricultural production value chain in Europe is highly subsidized through the Common Agricultural Policy of Europe, CAP. Why they are really focusing on CAP? CAP is really a very interesting policy. They are not only focusing on the economy. Europe is saying that I am huge, I really understood nature much better than other continents. So why should I worry for America to sign for the Kyoto Protocol or whatever? They are really saying like that. They are strongly working on preservation of nature and then the introduction of business ethics in most of their sectors. And one of the sectors is agriculture, like the Common Agricultural Policy. If you ask them, why do you subsidize agriculture? Because your farmers are highly subsidized. Producers of products from other countries are not subsidized. When they are competing on the European market, a subsidized farmer can sell the products, or a subsidized producer can sell the products with lesser price compared to an unsubsidized one. Then their practice within Common Agricultural Policy, for example, they have a very specific rule called the SAP policy within CAP. SAP means set aside policy. Set aside policy means depending on the agronomy of a certain agricultural area, farmers are advised, not only advised, but also obliged to stop farming their farm after they cultivate it, let's say for 2 or 3 years. They will be forced to set aside. Like በእኛ ሀገር እንደ ድሮ ለምሳሌ ቤኒሻንጉል ብትሄዱ ወደ ጋምቤላ ሪጅን ብትሄዱ የሺፍቲንግ ካልቲቬሽን አይነት ማለት ነው። they modernize it in they say it's up እንጂ like shifting cultivation ነው። በነገራችን ላይ ብዙዎቹ በአፍሪካ ውስጥ ያሉ ትራዲሽናል ላንድ ዩዝ ፕራክቲስስ እንደ ትራዲሽናል እንቆጥራቸዋለን እንጂ በብዙ ሺህ ዓመታት ተቀምረው የመጡ ስለሆነ ተንከባክበን መያዝ ያለብን በጣም በርካታ ነገሮች አሉ። Previously Europe was not advising this, just cultivate it annually because they saw that their soil is exhausted, and they say it soil exhaustion, and then their soil doesn't really produce even tasty products and like that. So set aside policy. If you, let's say you cultivate your farm for the coming 2 years, and then you will make it free for the coming 1 year, and then after that like that. For the coming 1 year, so what will the farmer really get? How the farmer will live? Because they have some important subsidy. So what they are really subsidizing for encouraging even farmers to really encourage farmers to go for conservation. Anyway, there are a lot of issues. So if you are interested, you can read it. So I consider you as not only just international business students. Remember, in a master's class, I have to really consider also my students to be, let's say, policy advisors. Don't put yourself only to the side of the importer and to the side of the exporter. Sometimes you may be a government official. You may be an advisor to the national organizations that encourage trade. So, as an officer, what will be your area of interest? Your area of interest is really you will think at macro level, not as just micro level, like how much is a draft or like that, you know? ከዛ ከማለት ይልቅ እንደ መንግስት እንደ ሀገር ስናስብ ደግሞ at macro level ያለውን የትሬድ ግኝት ወይም ደግሞ የትሬድ አድቫንቴጅ እናያለን ማለት ነው። To a country, for example, what is the gain or what's the advantage from international trade? To a country, even to consumers, and even to producers, and finally, even overall effect. The summation of advantage to a country, advantage to consumers and producers, it will have what? Overall effect. This overall effect is the welfare effect. So indirectly what we are looking is what are the welfare dimensions of going for international trade. Okay, welfare effect means how do citizens benefit from international trade? Let's say citizens of France or citizens of America. If the two traders enter into if the two traders from the two countries intertrade, are the producers gain or consumers gain? Who is really getting? As policymakers and policy analysts, definitely we are expected to really understand. I don't want to simply leave you as like a student and then just go by, goodbye. It's not like that. You need to really see also the macro level effects. And these macro level effects, I know if you have time, you can really deal with it. If not, when we finish maybe the last chapter, I will discuss this and then I will really, I am sure you will like it. There are some calculations on this, but it is somehow really a bit beyond the curriculum. But I will take the risk so that my students even get something more. It's not only, so I will have like maybe 30 minutes additional lecture after the end of the course. Please remember what are the gains of trade, and these gains can be cascaded into 3 groups: gains to the country, consumer, and finally what we call is the overall effect or the welfare effect. I will do that and I will share you additional slide to that one. And this is all about the 5th chapter. Okay, I think that's really an important chapter where you can enjoy reading some of the materials that I really share you. Okay, Geta has raised his hands. Any question, comments, or suggestion? You are most welcome. Please, Geta, you can go ahead.
Yes, doctor. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. It is really excellent, and you are an ocean of knowledge in business. Particularly, this is very interesting. I have a question related to the physical and the institutional barrier for import and export.
Yeah.
For example, in our context, there are behavioral barriers. It is in my definition. There are behavioral barriers like the attitudes of the authorities in the national bank, the authorities in the customs institutions, and also the attitudes of the giant importers and exporters in Ethiopia is the highest individuals or persons attacked by these behavioral barriers. So, assuming that these corrupted authorities in the one hand and Ethiopia as a landlocked country in the other hand, and also as you explained yesterday that the business operating environment also the other constraint. So this kinds of bottlenecks are in one hand, and the international community and the dynamic business environment also pushed us to compute or to play a role in the international business. So how to cope up with this dynamic environment within these challenges for our context, or how are the way outs to be competitors in the international business? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Getao. Thank you really for your wonderful question, by the way. This is a question that many researches, even many discussions, many consultative discussions are really being made. You really touched it, and then I am happy to get such questions because it will be a confirmation for me that my students are really attending, you know. I know some of the students are, you may relax. It's not no problem. You can even save a video and read it later. But this is really a moral for me that you are really attending me. That's really a big gift for me. It's not just that. So thank you very much. You are really understanding with me. The question is really still, you are always asking me tough question, Gato. You said it, by the way. There are a lot of hands in international trade, international business. If you see who are the actors, you finally will get is a locked open system አይደለም አብዛኛው ሀገሮች ውስጥ ያለው በተለይ ታዳጊ ሀገሮች ውስጥ በቃ with some like family of business አርጋችሁ ቁጠሩት በነገራችን ላይ like እንደው አንድ አካባቢ ቀበሌ ያለች ትንሽ ሳሙናና ምናምን ሶፍት የምትሸጥ ሾፕ በጣም ሶሻሊስት ናት ከነሱ ጋር ሲታይ ማለት ነው አትሊስት ብዙ ሰው ታያለች ከብዙ ሰው ጋር ትሰራለች ለብዙ ሰው ትሸጣለች export business ላይ በመጣዩበት ጊዜ one the government capacity by the way conducting efficient export and import ስራዎችን ለመስራት strong የሆነ government ያስፈልጋል strong government that can really enforce laws that can really monitor the efficiency and even the efficacy of the whole import export system ያስፈልጋል ማለት ነውና የኛ ኬዝ ያው ብዙ ነገሮች አሉ እኔ ግን ልንገራችሁ ደጋግሜ ሁሉ ጊዜ የምመላችሁ ለነዚህ ኮምፕሌክሲቲስ ልንገራችሁ ባሉን ሰዎች ካፔብል በሆነ ሲስተም መፍጠር በየጊዜው የማይፈርሱ ለዘመናት እንሰራባቸዋለን ብለን የምናስቀምጣቸው ተቋማት ስትሮንግ መገንባት ስላልቻሉ we don't have strong institution and strong institution establish on another person መጥቶ ነው the ministry of this ministry አብሮ ከዚህ ጋር ስሙ ይቀየራል ይቀየራል የዛ ላይ በጣም ተጠንቀቀን ማንሰራ ከሆነ ስቲል የኛ መከራ መቼም ድረስ ሊያበቃልን አይችልም ማለት ነው ስለዚህ እዚህ ላይ ትልቁ ስራ ምንድነው ዋን ሰው ላይ ነው ኢንቨስት ማድረግ ያለብን I think we have to invest on people we have to invest on like strong minds okay you like it or not it really requires intelligence but international marketing ለማሸነፍ international FDI ለማምጣት whatever በጣም strong የሆኑ competitive የሆኑ professionals ያስፈልጋሉ competitive professionals የተወሰኑ የተርኪሽ ደልጌቶች መጣው እነሱን በአግባቡ የሚያዋራ ፕሮፌሽናል እነሱ ከመምጣታቸው በፊት ኢቭን ስለነሱ ሁኔታ ቀድማው አውቆ የሚያደርግ እንጂ ወንበር የሚያሽከረክር ሰውማ ሞልቷል that's really by the አንዱ ትልቁ ችግራችን ነው እኔ የኢትዮጵያ ችግር ምለው ምንድነው ሜሪት ቤዝድ የሆነ የኢንስቲትዩሽናል ቢልድ አፕ እና ሜሪት ቤዝድ የሆነ የሂውማን ሪሶርስ አለመጠቀም this is a crisis that the country everywhere ተሄዱ በሜሪት መሆን መቻል አለበት for example if institutions are established there should be adequate justification for the establishment of that institution like that at least እንደው ተፈጥሮ እንኳን እና ፖለቲካዊ ጎዳን ይበቃል ለምሳሌ we don't have port or we don't have like that that I remember we had a number of international negotiators they were asking the government officially please let's go for international court let's ask ምንም አትከፈሉን የኢትዮጵያን ይኔ ዛሬ 10 አመት ነው ምነግራችሁ ዛሬ 12 አመት ምንም we don't need anything እኛ ተከራክረን ኢትዮጵያ ወደ ባለቤት እንድንሆን እናርግ የሚሉ እጅግ በጣም ባለም አቀፍ እንትን ያላቸው ሰዎች the government is not willing that was not willing I don't know why so what I am saying is I know there are some cases but we are what you call it in a trap what you call it is trap you know a trap in that cycle is intellectual defect cycle ውስጥ ነው ያለው but really intellectual የሆኑ ሊሰሩ የሚችሉትን አካላት ያለማምጣት ይሄ ነው ቻሌንጃችን ይታወቃል we are very much far from the sea we are really far from different ports okay this is accepted ይሄንን ልቀይረው ማንችል እንኳን ቢሆን ይሄንን ነገር as a given variable ወስዶ የተሻሉ ሌሎች ስራዎች ላይ አውትዌይ በማድረግ ከሌሎች የተሻለ በመስራት የኢምፖርት ኤክስፖርቱን ሲስተም የሚያሻሽል ማይንድ ግን ያስፈልጋል። Look, how much is your experience? I have visited some of the human resource data. By the way, I have also research on this data, repetitive research on this, and I have visited a number of relevant organizations. 5 ዓመት የሚቆይ በጣም የትሬድ እና ኢምፖርት ኤክስፖርት ላይ የታወቀ ኤክስፐርት አታገኙም። 5 ዓመት 4 ዓመት you cannot get them. I don't know where they going. There is huge human resource instability. Human resource instability will be preceded by institutional instability. Human resource instability ከተከሰተ ከዛ ቀጥሎ የሚለው ተቋሙ ራሱ አንዱ ለሰራ ወንጀል እንዳይገኝበት ያንን ተቋም ያፈርሰዋል ወይ ሪሻፕ ያደርገዋል ወይ ስትራክቸር ያደርገዋል። በዛ መሃል የሚዘረፍ የሚጠፋ በጣም ብዙ ነገር ነው። ይሄ ነው ግን በመሃል ላይ የምናጣው ነገር ምንድነው? We will touch the moral of a number of intelligent and good traders. By the way, we had nice importers and exporters. Even if, in my understanding, the import and the export market in Ethiopia is highly monopolized. This is my belief, by the way. You can really, I say it in international trade course, I say it publicly that the monopoly of import and export business in Ethiopia may be probably because of the need of the government, because government may not have the capacity to encourage all of them. Therefore, the government may choose few and then እነዚህ ትናልቅ ኢምፖርተሮች እና ኤክስፖርተሮች እያደጉ ሲሄዱ ደግሞ ሌሎች ትናንሽ ኢምፖርተርስ ኤንድ ኤክስፖርተርስ ያመጣሉ። በነገራችን ላይ ከ13000 ምናምን በላይ 600 በላይ በኤክስፖርት በኢምፖርት እና ኤክስፖርት ላይ የተመዘገበ ዳታ አለ። ሊስት ኦፍ ዞስ if you see the lists of importers and exporters ወደ 13600 importers and exporters list are they really exporting? Are they really doing it? And I checked it, many of them, okay, they got that license probably just not for export, but maybe to get like 2 or 3 like Rava 4 cars or 3 high model cars or 3 G8, I mean V8 cars, ከዛ በኋላ ያበቃል። so ይሄ አላለ really passionate ሆኖ በቢዝነሱ ላይ ያገኛሉ ብሎ ከመሄድ ይልቅ የኤክስፖርት ላይሰንስ አውጥቶ የግልን ጥቅም የማሳደድ ሂደታ በዜጎቹ ዘንድ ይታያል። መንግስትንም ወይም የጥቂት ኢምፖርተር ኤክስፖርተሮች ወቀሳ ብቻ አይደለም ባይዘው እንደ ሀገር anyway we also have our own problem ባይዘው really ያ ነገር ላይ ብዙ የማይሰራ ከሆነ በጣም ብዙ ችግር አለ ማለት። ስለዚህ ጌታው ያልከው ነገር it's very good by the way. In addition to this physical, financial, whatever barriers, the attitudinal barrier is much more by the way. Yeah, course we are international business ነው። እናንተ ግን ወደ ኢትዮጵያ እየወሰዳችሁ በጥያቄ ስለተቸገርኩ ነው እንጂ ይሄ ደግሞ ኮመን ነው ሁሉም ጋር እና ይሄንን በአቲቲዩድናል ባሪየር እንዴት አቮይድ እናርገው የሚለው የመጀመሪያው ስራ የሚሆነው ገቨርንመንት ኮሚትመንት ነው። ገቨርንመንት ደግሞ ኮሚትድ ሆኖ እንዳይሰራ ያው እየገጠሙ ያሉት ፈተናዎች ታውቃላችሁ። ስለዚህ anyway we have to really struggle. Plus this is also an opportunity by the way for advisors and students like you. It's an opportunity because you can write a lot of areas of improvement. For example, you can make your thesis around this area. ብዙ ሪኮመንድ ይደረግ የሚችሉ ነገሮች ብዙ አይደንቲፋይ ይደረጉ የሚችሉ ነገሮች እና ኒው ኤክስፕሎር ልታረጉባቸው የሚችሉ ችግሮች የምታገኙበት ስለሆነ this is an opportunity in the academy አባይዘው so I think ይሄንን በደንብ እናያለን። ገቨርንመንት ለምሳሌ ሲወስዳቸው ከነበሩት ስቴፖች ውስጥ አንዱ በግሎባል ኮሚኒቲው ያለን ራንክ ምንድነው? ለምሳሌ to start up a business, how much is our rank from 190 economies? I say 190 because the World Bank Group normally compares 190 economies, even if there are more than 100 countries in the world. So we will see this all in chapter 6, like how much is our, of course, the ease of doing a business report. ብዙ ሰጀሽኖች አሉ እዛ ላይ የሚወጡ እነዚህ ሰጀሽንስ አዳፕት እያደረግን መሄድ ያስፈልጋል። Generally, there is no option than promoting export and substituting import. So we have to work hard toward the promotion of exports and then substitution of imports. How? We will see it in chapter 6. If you have any question, Geta, may I say something?
Yes, doctor. I got the idea, and it is enough.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Geta. I think we have some more time. Don't forget that at the end of our lectures, I will maybe next time, next week or next Thursday, we will discuss on the advantage or gains from trade. What do countries get from trade? Anyway, let's go for today on, let's proceed with what we already have. So this is slide 78, where I am on slide 79. Still, this is an international business course. Remember, throughout the whole course, I mean throughout the whole chapter, from chapter 1 to chapter 5, you were almost asking me about Ethiopia. Everybody almost was asking how is our salary. So it's not fair not to touch Ethiopia in this course. So of course, Ethiopia is part of the global community located in the Horn of Africa. So where is the place of Ethiopia in international business is a very important question. And definitely most of the questions that you were raising will be touched somehow in this chapter. And then I'm proceeding towards Ethiopia in international business. Actually, it is a tradition that if the course is provided, let's say in Brussels or in Belgium, they say that the place of Belgium in international business is very, very common. Those of you who don't know where Ethiopia is located, in case, because I don't know who are attending, we are at distance, so Ethiopia is really locating this. So when we say globalization in Ethiopia, we are talking about, you see the geopolitical position of the country. How much is it suitable? It's not really that much far, by the way. If you go Chad, if you take some of the Rwanda, if you see Uganda, or like that, it's not that much difficult. If you see Uganda compared with Ethiopia, Ethiopia has much closer proximity to the sea than Uganda, but still Uganda is much successful in terms of conducting international trade, even if the volume of trade is not that much. You can consider Chad, for example. You can consider Central African Republic. Don't consider only all those countries that have sea, that have access to the sea, or that have. So, but ይሄን ያህል ከሲል እንዳው ኢራቅን አይደለም እንዳንዳንድ ሀገሮች ብለን ተስፋ መቁረጥም የለብንም ማለት ነው። So that's why the reason why I purposely brought this picture. So this is global position there. And then Ethiopia is really is also located, I think, in the tropics, between the tropics of Cancer and the tropics of Capricorn. Ethiopia is one of the most beautiful nations which can witness almost all the climates of the world. ኢኳቶር ውስጥ ወይም ትሮፒክ ውስጥ ሆና በዓለም ላይ የሚገኙ ሁሉንም ክላይሜቶች በሚባል መልኩ የሚታዩባት አገር ናት። This is really surprising, by the way. This is really, in terms of geography and in terms of agronomy, the most surprising nation. Why? It's not only, the reason is because it's not only a matter of latitude and longitude, it's not only a matter of latitude. Latitude is the issue of being in the tropics. Rather, Ethiopia is gifted with diverse altitude, so the altitude also matters. Below sea level, thousands of meters, እንደዚህ አይነት ቶፖግራፊ አገሪቷ መኖሩ በዓለም ላይ ያሉ almost all የሚባሉ climates አገሪቷ ውስጥ እንዲከሰት አለ። ዴዘርት አለ፣ ዴዘርቲፊኬሽን አለ። like ምናልባት ትንሽ like the frigid zone የሚባለው ካልሆነ በስተቀር እሱም significant የሚባሉ mountain tips ላይ ይኖራል። If you go to Bali mountain, if you go to the Rastisha mountain, if you go to the Choke mountain, you can have. So the country didn't use all this. ምናልባት በአውሮፕላን ፍላይ ስታደርጉ ምን አይነት እንደ አውሮፓ በጣም ለጥ ያለ ሀገር አይደለም ትላላችሁ፣ ግን ሆሞጂኒቲ ነው ያለው እዛ። አልተጠቀምንበትም እንጂ we have a number of gifts, by the way, particularly in terms of mineralogy, climate ራሱ የሚያመጣው ሁሉም ሀገሮች ውስጥ ሊበቅሉ የሚችሉ ተክሎችን እና biological species ሀገራችን ውስጥ አምርተን ለዓለም መትረፍ የምንችል። You can check the whole surrounding country. By the way, simulated የሆነ የሀገሪቷን ማፕ በምታዩበት ጊዜ በጣም እዚህ ጋር በጣም በኃይለኛ ቶፕ ሌቭል ወለላ ጋር ስቴዲያ ሀፕን አያደርግምና አንዳንድ ጊዜ መጥፎ ነው ማፕ ሳይሆን ለምሳሌ የጠርዝን ቅርጽ በትንሹ ሊያሳየን የሚችል እና the nature of the country ምን ያህል ከሌላው ጋር peculiar ወይም ስፔሻል እንደሆነች የምናይበት ብዙ አጋጣሚ አለ። ያ የራሱ የሆነ አድቫንቴጅ ኤንድ ዲስአድቫንቴጅ የሚፈጥረው እንትን ይኖራል። ሶ ኢትዮጵያን ኢንተርናሽናል ቢዝነስ ስናስብ ዋት ምን አላት ከሚለው የት ነው ሎኬት የምታደርገው ከሚል ይጀምራል ማለት ነው። ሶ ኢትዮጵያ as a country, Ethiopia as a resource. As I said, you can really explain a lot on this regard, and there are a number of international publications, especially from 2004, 2014. Really, እኛ እንደዚህ እንላለን ሎኬሽናችን እንዲህ ነው፣ ግን ከኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ ጋር ሊገናኙ የሚችሉ ወሳኝ ዓለም አቀፍ ዶኩመንቶችስ ወይም ተቋማትስ ኢትዮጵያን ምን ብለው ነው የሚጠሯት የሚለውን ማወቅ በጣም አስፈላጊ ነው። Because what matters in international trade is really not only what you have, but also the image that you have. Okay, so we could have I have some reservations, but important documents like the World Bank documents, they were showing this. መጨረሻ ላይ ያው አገሪቷ growing economy እንዳላት ምንም deniable አልነበረም ማለት ነው። The country has really a growing economy. I took it from one of the cover page of the World Bank report about Ethiopia, and its economy is like spreading or sprinting like what its runners like Kananisa or Haile are really sprinting. Okay, they really do like this, but it doesn't mean that this sprinting has equally benefited all Ethiopians. I have a doubt on that, but then I hope you will have also a doubt on that. So globalization for Ethiopia versus Ethiopia for globalization. This is a very good concept. Globalization ለኢትዮጵያ ያደረገው ነገር ምንድነው? ኢትዮጵያ ደግሞ ለግሎባላይዜሽን ያደረገችው የሚለው ምንድነው? And the interplay between the two is really very important. So there are some very specific case studies to answer this. Important case studies are required. Still a number of there are also debatable nexus. በመካከላቸው ያለው መስተጋብር በጣም ዲቤቴብል ነው። ያንን ዲቤቴብል መስተጋብር ግን ዝም ብለን የምናልፈው ሳይሆን we can raise a number of researchable questions. And then the effect on Ethiopia, for example, the effect of internationalization or globalization of Ethiopia normally is varied both in direction and magnitude. Effect direction means positive, negative effect. Magnitude means high or low. It really depends. So the challenge is really tracing evidences. To answer about all this, getting evidence in this case is really a challenge. Some of the data are sometimes interpreted from different ideologies. This can be so bad or so good. So how can we really conceptualize Ethiopia in the eye of globalization? But remember, when we say globalization, we mean globalization of what? Bring your attention to our course. When I say globalization for Ethiopia and Ethiopia for globalization, please contextualize to our course. It means globalization of production. How much of the production system in Ethiopia are globalized? How much of the production system across the globe is coming with Ethiopia? So it means globalization of production and globalization of marketing. How much is the share of Ethiopia in the global market? How much of the Ethiopian market is inundated with some global products? So from Ethiopia's perspective, might ያስፈልጋል ማለት ነው። So remember, as we explained it last time, features of globalization, we can have the economic globalization, the financial globalization, the cultural globalization, the political globalization, and then the trade introduction chapter later on. For example, related to globalization in financing, globalization the trend is towards more deregulation, Isaias is repeatedly disturbing us. I repeatedly, but he is really disturbing. So Isaias, I mean, you need to be careful to Isaias Gebrekida. If you are not really attending the class, please, I can ban you and you can leave. If not, I repeatedly unmute you and you are really unmuting yourself. So you are disturbing my students. So I have to again unmute. And Nathan, yeah, I think additional. Deregulation and liberalization is a trend. Convergence in political systems, for example, in terms of cultural and politics, what you can see is a kind of convergence. But the effect of this convergence is really backing, it creates a backfire in some of the countries, so that some countries start to be more conservative, like to protect their culture, and sometimes it creates a local global clash. And some of the global conflicts are really doing that. So when we talk about globalization, economic globalization, I said it, globalization of production and globalization of market in the context of Ethiopia, try to check it. Globalization of corporations, industries. How many industries and corporations in the country are considered from global dimensions? Globalization of competition. Really, the competition in Ethiopia is really a global. Is it derived from a global, or is it a global derivation? Of course, in terms of technology, like globalization of technology, we can be somehow better, but on others, I think it has some issue. Okay, before talking about the import-export, when this is the economic environment of Ethiopia, some of the data may be a bit outdated. Of course, it's not outdated. 2 years is enough, by the way, in the analysis. If you see the real GDP growth of Ethiopia in the previous, let's say, 11 years, you can see like this. This is real GDP of the country. So it's somehow it looks good. Eastern Africa average. Eastern Africa is the GDP is like this. The rest of Africa is like this. But in terms of GDP, we are doing well. This is the report from the African Development Bank. And some of the issues, like for example, the case of 2016, 2017, and 18 as projections and even sometimes estimates. Stock of total external debts, like outstanding debt, it can be public and private debts divided by GDP, and in debt service exports, debt service to exports. So you see, the debt is really, it means percentage of exports of goods and services that you can really, the debt is really increasing from time to time. Is it, you know what I mean? Stock of total external debt, percentage of GDP, and debt service. Debt service means percentage of exports goods. So that's really also really increasing. You can check that. The contribution of annual GDP by let's say by consumption and then by whatever, you can check here. ለምሳሌ the private consumption, if this is a total GDP, ለምሳሌ 2012 ቶታል የተመረተው GDP ቢሆን አብዛኛው ምንድነው ማለት ነው? GCF ነው. We will see this. What's GFCF ነው. You see, it is this one, GFCF. You want a calculation, I will show you. And then this one is somehow private consumption, and then this is somehow exports GNF, and then this is the public consumption. There was not much that time. I don't know, maybe around here, but the figure was not there. So this is the real GDP is really moving this way from 2010. So real GDP is somehow, especially 2016, it starts to decline between 2015 and 2016. It's really grading in that perspective. So GCF means gross fixed capital formation. ሀብት የመፍጠር የቋሚ ሀብት ፈጠራ አጠቃላይ ከተመረተው ጂዲፒ ውስጥ የቋሚ ሀብት ፈጠራ ላይ አገሪቷ ከሌላ በጣም የተሻለች ናት ማለት ነው። ለምሳሌ ቋሚ ሀብት ስንል ላይክ ቢልዲንግስ ሊሆን ይችላል፣ ላይክ ሃይድሮ ፓወር ዳምስ ሊሆን ይችላል፣ መንገዶች ሊሆን ይችላል። that's this what called the gross fixed capital formation, even sometimes also called share establishment of share based companies ሊሆን ይችላል ማለት ነው። imports ከዚህ ውስጥ የሚይዙት it's not easy የሚባል ነገር አይደለም. So you can see that it's really doing that. When you say GCF, that is acquisition, ለምሳሌ including purchase of new or second-hand assets ሊጨምር ይችላል. And then even the creation of assets by producers for their own use, minus actually disposals of produce fixed assets. ለምሳሌ the acquisition of what? Purchase of new or second-hand. ለምሳሌ በኢትዮጵያ ምድር ባቡር ላይ ተሸውደን በጣም ያን ሁሉ worn out የሆነ የተገዛው ማቴሪያል እዚህ ውስጥ ሊካተት ይችላል። Finally in the disposable fixed asset or report ይችላል። GNF ስንል ግን GNFS means like goods and says goods and non-factor services ማለት ነው. like remittance ሊሆን ይችላል, like tourism ሊሆን ይችላል, like flight services ሊሆን ይችላል. ስለዚህ የGNF ፒስ ሮልም really ቀላል አይደለም ማለት ነው። ኢትዮጵያ እንደ ኢኮኖሚክ ኢንቫይሮንመንትን በመናይበት ጊዜ rate of poverty reduction, of course, significantly poverty was being reduced. ለምሳሌ ከፊስካል 2013 እስከ ፊስካል 2018 ነው የምናየው rate of poverty reduction rate ነው. Rate of poverty reduction is really ብዙም ባይሆን really promising ነው. GDP per capita grows, GDP per capita ማለት የሀገሪቷ ቶታል ምርት ሲካፈል ላላት ፖፑሌሽን ማለት ነው. we call it GDP per capita ተወሰነ ምክንያቱም ሬዲዩስ እያደረገ ነው ማለት ነው እየቀነሰ ሄደ ማለት ጂዲፒው ቀነሰ ማለት አይደለም ጂዲፒ per capita እየቀነሰ ሄደ ማለት ነው የጂዲፒው growth compared to the population growth በጣም ትንሽ ነው ማለት ነው population growth በጣም ሃይ የሆነ ስለሚሄድ ማለት ነው so ይሄን በተመለከተ የተወሰነ አንድ ኤክስትራ ሌክቸር ሰጣችሁ ይችላል እሱን እናወራለን በኋላ poverty rates for example the poverty rate is sharply declining like the absolute poverty line like $1.9 per day now it becomes like $3 per day as of the purchasing poverty of the 2011 ይሄ ሁሉ የምናየው ምንድነው really what are really the Ethiopia in terms of globalization of production and globalization of marketing ስለነዚህ ሳንይዝ it's very difficult marketing for example it's really about purchasing power of people we cannot think of internationalization of business while thousands are really hungry and then some companies are really may not even get a good purchasing power so that the other thing is when we talk about globalization of production Ethiopia versus globalization or the world means ምን የትኞቹ ካምፓኒዎች ናቸው ሊያመርቱ የሚመጡት ወይም ደግሞ የትኞቹ ካምፓኒዎች ነው ከኢትዮጵያ ለማምረት የሚሄዱት ይሄ ምን ይባላል the issue of investment that's what called the FDI means ሁለት ኮንሰፕት ነው I mean inward FDI and outward FDI አለ ሁለቱም ነው የምታየው እዚህ ጋር how many companies they really invest outside of Ethiopia and how many companies came to Ethiopia and invest in the country so efforts from the country in ለማድረግ and macro ወይም the government ወይም the and country ትልቁ ዲስከስ ሊደረግ የሚችለው ምንድነው what are really the governments really doing what are the efforts from the country to lure or attract this investment when talk about efforts from the country we can have like a number of if you see the Ethiopian Investment Agency when you are talking about globalization of production definitely there are some important institutions that have to approach one is the issue of the Ethiopian Investment Agency from which you can get nice practical documents and guidelines about the efforts that are made by the government to attract FDI and even to encourage others probably to invest but in Ethiopian case attract የማድረግ ነው እንጂ የተወሰኑ ኢንቨስተሮች አትሊስት ጅቡቲ ሄደው ወይም ሳውዲ አረቢያ ሄደው ወይም ሰማ የሆነ ሀገር ሄደው ኢንቨስት እንዲያደርጉ ያንን በሌላ አንግል የማየት ብዙም ነገር አይታይም ሲምፕሊ ብቻ ወደኛ ነው እንጂ ከኛ ጋር ወጣችሁ ኢንቨስት አድርጉ የሚል መንግስት መቼ እንደሚል አላውቅም ምክንያቱም በጣም አንሊሚትለስ መሬት እንዳለ ፍሪላንድ ነው ደግሞ የሚለው የሚገርመው እንደኔ there is no freeland in Ethiopia ዝንጀሮች የሚደሩበት ከብቶች የሚኖሩበት እያንዳንዱ የሆነ የሚሰርቭ የሚያደርገው ፐርፐዝ አለ ስለዚህ ማወቅ ያለብን ምንድነው ፍሪ ላንድ እንደሌለ አውቀን ያችን ፍሪ ያልሆነ ላንድ ግን ለተሻለ ኢንቨስትመንት በጣም በቁጠባና ትልቅ ጥቅም በሚያመጣ መልኩ ሜንታሊቲ ነው መሄድ ያለብን እንጂ ፍሪ ላንድ ስላለን ተብሎ ለነካራቱሪ 300,000 ሄክታር ኦፍ ላንድ መስጠት ማለት ምን ማለት ነው? even I understand whether በዛን ጊዜ የነበሩት ኦፊሰርስ ሄክታር ማለት ምን ማለት እንደሆነ ምናልባት 1 ሴንቲሜትር በ1 ሴንቲሜትር አድርገው አስበው I don't know I am really afraid so what I am saying is very important to really understand and have a critical understanding of what's really doing them የመጀመሪያው what makes Ethiopia is really better than others and then ልትመረጥ የሚያስችልባት የነበረው ነገር ምንድነው like the political and macroeconomic stability number I think we are somehow losing that for some time but I hope we will be more stable soon and then the market access a lot and then the demographic advantage even the infrastructural advantage even huge untapped resources and that is already there and the operating environment you have asked me yesterday about some question related to import and export and I try to relate with the business operating environment of course the business operating environment በጣም ቤስት ባይባልም ከአንዳንድ ሀገሮች እንደምንሻል ሪፖርቶች ያሳያሉ ስለዚህ we have to capitalize on that and then የተሻለ ራንክ ለማድረግ እንሄዳለን anyway why invest in Ethiopia as an international business student if some investors and international business persons they come to you and if they send you a message dear brother or dear my friend can you tell me really why is the reasons that I have to invest in Ethiopia at least these are some of the issues that you can really answer that the competitive incentive package is very good by the way compared to Kenya and Ethiopia is providing really a competitive incentive package ትልቁ ችግር ያለ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ሪፒትድሊ እንደምላችሁ ምንድነው በቃ በደንብ በአግባቡ በስርዓቱ ጥሩ ሲስተሙን ተጠቅመው ከማሸነፍ ይልቅ በአቋራጭ ሄዶ ኢምፖርቱንም ኤክስፖርቱንም የመቆራጠር ሂደት ስላለ ነው እንጂ በጣም በርካታ መስራት ይቻላል ኮምፒቲቲቭ የሆኑ ኢንሰንቲቭ ፓኬጆች እንዳሉ ማሰብ ያስፈልጋል ማለት ነው I think that's an important element in 2014 for example ወደ ኋላ ስንሄድ Ethiopia is the 8th largest recipient of FDI projects in Ethiopia in Africa ውስጥ ካሉት ሀገሮች ትልቁን FDI አትራክት በማድረግ ከአፍሪካ ካሉ ሀገሮች 8ኛ ነበረች and then ከዛም በኋላ ጃሳውን ከዛም በፊት ያለውን data when you see the trend you can see how that FDI inflow is really increasing this millions of dollars like that why are we worrying about FDI of course FDI is what it's something related to globalization of production by the way even if we are not going for global others are really coming so you can see from that perspective and you can learn from limitations these countries China followed by India Saudi Arabia Turkey UK Netherlands they take really the lead in terms of top investors in terms of really the other things that makes Ethiopia somehow really to have a better potential for the international marketing environment is there is a large domestic market now almost about 100 million no and 115 ነው እንቀራለን 110 ሚሊዮን አካባቢ ነው Ethiopia is also very closer and it's found in the common market for the Eastern and South Africa the COMESA for example I had one master student who is really doing in COMESA he has a really wonderful findings why COMESA is not well functioning so you can really take also as one of the your really research topic and then you can do that around 19 member countries ያለው ሆኖ over አሁን እንኳን ወደ 460 ወይ 450 አካባቢ ሚሊዮን 440 million people are this is really a huge population and then it's also a member with AGOA the African Growth and Opportunity Act the generalized system permittance the US government initiatives the ABA እነዚህ ሁሉ ላይ ከኢትዮጵያ የሚመረቱ ምርቶች ወደ እነዚህ አካባቢ ሲሄዱ አድቫንቴጅ አላቸው I know initially there were some Indian and Chinese investors the reason why they are coming to Ethiopia is in order to get this advantage so no one says them if they go to the Turkish market or European market no you are a Chinese investor ሊባላችሁ ነው what's asked is as far as the products really coming from Ethiopia, they are already Ethiopian investors, and they will get this advantage. But this advantage is not in India. This advantage is not in China. It's in Ethiopia. In order to secure this advantage, some of the investors may come in. They may really do that. So population advantage, you can see here. Actually, እንግዲህ እስካሁን የቆጠረ ነው የለም ከተቆጠረም እንግዲህ ኦልሞስት 20 ዓመት ነው 10 ምናምን ዓመት ሊሆን ነው ግን ስላልተቆጠረ ብሎ ስታቲስቲክስ ዝም አይልም ስታቲስቲክስ ቢያንስ ሪል ዴታ ካለ ይሰራል ሪል ዴታ ካለ ደግሞ ታንክስ ፎር ስታቲስቲክስ ፕሮጀክት ማድረግ እንችላለን ማለት that's why አንዳንድ ሰዎች the population of Ethiopia in 2016 እንዴ መቼ ሴንሰስ ተካሄደ ልትሉ እንዳትችሉ ይሄ ነው ኢትዮጵያ 2016 this is really the graph the most of the developing countries have this type of population structure. You can see, for example, from age 0 to 4, the number of males and then the number of female children is almost balanced. We can have around 8.5 million males, 9 million. አሁን ባለው እንትን almost ወደ 9 ሚሊዮን የሚጠጋ የኢትዮጵያ population ወንዶች ጾታቸው ወንዶች እድሜያቸው ደግሞ እስከ 4 ዓመት የሆኑ ነው በተመሳሳይ almost የሴቶች ቁጥር ትንሽ አነስ ሊል ይችላል closer to that አካባቢ ሊሄድ የሚችል ሴቶች ቁጥር ደግሞ ጀንደራቸው ሴት የሆነ እድሜያቸው ከ0 እስከ 4 ይሆንና what do you say almost ወደ 17 ሚሊዮን የሚሆነ የኢትዮጵያ population እስከ 4 ዓመት እድሜ ውስጥ ያለ population ነው ማለት እንደገና ከ5 እስከ 9 ስንሄድ almost 7.5 እንደገና 15 ሚሊዮን የሚሆነ የኢትዮጵያ population እድሜው ከ5 እስከ 9 ነው ጀነራሊ 17 እና 15 ማለት ነው ወደ 32% ወይም ደግሞ የአገሪቷ 1/3 የሚሆነው ህዝብ እድሜው እስከ 10 ዓመት ነው ማለት ነው you can really say that ይሄ ለኢንተርናሽናል ቢዝነስ ላይ ምን ሲግኒፊካንስ አለው ዶሜስቲክ ቢዝነስ ላይ ያለው የሚለው ያየን ካልተንቀሳቀሰን ይሄ we have a demographic advantage how why disadvantage ነው advantage ልትሉት ይችላላችሁ of course advantage ነው if we are using this we have what maybe አሁን 4 ዓመት ከ0 እስከ 4 ዓመት ማለት ነው ወደ 17 ሚሊዮን የዛሬ let's say 30 ከ30 እስከ 34 ዓመት የሚሆን እድሜ ከ30 እስከ 34 ዓመት በኋላ ወደ 17 ሚሊዮን የሚሆን እድሜያቸው 30 እስከ 34 ዓመት የሆነ ፕሮዳክቲቭ የሆነ ለግሎባላይዜሽን ኦፍ ፕሮዳክሽን ሮል ሊጫወት የሚችል በጣም የተገነባ የሰው ኃይል ነው ይሄ ግን ኮንዲሽናል if we are really investing much so one of by the having large million and having a young population is a global really understood concept that younger population ያላት ሀገር ብዙ ጊዜ demographic advantage ያላት ትባላለች ማለት ነው ለምሳሌ advanced ከሆኑት ሀገሮች ጀርመኒን ብንወስድ Germany has this type of structure you can see majority of the population in Germany is on working age almost like that ስለዚህ ኢትዮጵያን የዛሬ 20 ዓመት እና ጀርመንን የዛሬ 20 ዓመት በፖፑሌሽን ኮምፔር አድርጉት ባሉ የዛሬ 20 ዓመት ማለት ነው ለምሳሌ ጀርመን የዛሬ 20 ዓመት አካባቢ ወደ 3.2 ሚሊዮን የሚሆን ወደ 3.2 ሚሊዮን የሚሆን ወጣት ሲኖራት የዛሬ 20 ዓመት አካባቢ የሚሆን ኢትዮጵያ ግን 17 ሚሊዮን ይሆናል ማለት ነው almost የኢትዮጵያን 5 እጥፍ የጀርመንን 5 እጥፍ ያህል በጣም ወርኪንግ የሆነ ፖፑሌሽን ነው እዛ ላይ ኢንቨስት ካደረገ ስለዚህ ኢንተርናሽናል ቢዝነስ ኢንቫይሮንመንት የዛሬ in the future የጀርመን እና ኢትዮጵያ በፍጹም you cannot compare it if there is peace and stability and both for the globalization of production and globalization of marketing definitely we are on a demographic advantage but this is done with a number of conditions don't forget it there are a number of conditions if things are advantage for instance የዛሬ 20 ዓመት አካባቢ ብትሄዱ almost በጣም huge number of the German population በጣም ጡረተኛ ይሆናል። በጣም ብዙ ጡረተኛ ነው የሚኖረው። እንደውም በቃ አንዳንዶቹም ኬር ያስፈልጋቸዋል። ለምሳሌ እዚህ ውስጥ ያሉት ከ55 እስከ 54 20 ዓመት ደምሮ ከ70 እስከ 74 እያለ ይላል እና በጣም ካቲንግ ፖይንቱ በጣም ኢኮኖሚውን በጣም ይሸከማል። አሁን ኢትዮጵያ ጋር ስትመጡ ይሄንን እንዳለ ኢኮኖሚ የተሸከሙት የኔና የናንተ ጄነሬሽን ነው። ይሄ መከረኛ ጄነሬሽን ማለት ነው። ለምሳሌ ከ30 ከ25 ለይሰይ እስከ 55 ያለው ጄነሬሽን ሪሊ በጣም አንደኛ ባለፉት ለሰሩት ችግሮች ዳምን ከፍል፣ ሁለተኛ ከታች ያጣደፈላለው ኒው ጄነሬሽን ቤዝምነት ስለሆነ we are really I am sure that there will not be a generation in Ethiopia which is highly crushed like our generation by the way. So this is at least 1960s 1970s fault የሰሩ ሰዎች በዚህ ጊዜ እንኳን ቢተውን ቢያንስ የተሻለ ሀገር የማምጣት የተሻለ እንትን ማድረግ ይቻላል። So what I am saying is Ethiopia has bigger demographic advantage and you can see anyway. I hope እናንተ የተማራችሁ ስለሆናችሁ እዚህ ላይ ብዙ explain ላደርጋችሁ። So the meaning what is the meaning after some year የደመራችሁ ትሄዱ demographic transition እስኪመጣ ድረስ ማለት ነው። But expect that there will be a period that some of the pyramids in Ethiopia እንዲከመሆኑ ከታች እያጠረ የመሄድ ወደ ኢትዮጵያ ያ period ይባላል። We call it a demographic transition period ይባላል። Probably maybe after hope ከ20 እስከ 30 ዓመት ድረስ ውስጥ ወደ demographic transition እንደምንገባ ያሳያል። In terms of infrastructure definitely መጥፎ ነው የሚባልም አይደለም። You can compare some neighboring countries in terms of road, in terms of railway. We had some promising by the way ይጨለማ አይደለም ፊውቸራችን. We have some promising in terms of air transport, in terms of power for example. Even the question of the issue of industrial development, industrial zone, እነዚህ በጣም የራሱ የሆነ correct and then we might have some corrective measures and issues, but still there are some pluses that you can really do. So Ethiopia is saying that like I have this, I have population advantage, my power is improving, Ethiopian Airlines is doing this cheap cost ያለ globalization of production እንዲመጣ ከሚሰሩባቸው አንዱ እንትኖች ይሄ ነው ማለት ነው። So for example, in terms of industrial zones, maybe you may have an interest for your thesis or a scientific investigation. We have a number of industrial zones that are already being done. I think you can lead on. Yeah, of course, this is already outdated data in Oregon. The reality and the figures are all the same. Even in terms of incentivizing foreign direct investment, what the country is really doing, the country has a number of competitive incentive packages for those who are engaging and investing in our country, who have the interest in our country. One is the issue of remittance. Remittance is a sum of money sent especially by mail or whatever. Anyway, what are the significant incentive packages? You can see like provision of land at competitive lease price. Of course, it was like this, but now there's an way. Remittance of capital, and there are a number of duty exemptions on raw materials used as inputs for export. Sorry, the country has a number of duty or tax exemptions for those raw materials that are importing into Ethiopia. After importing Ethiopia, if the importer wants to really export a product, definitely there are exemptions, even custom duty exemptions are there, income tax, holiday tax, priority areas are there, and then the LCF policy. LCF ማለት it's a loss carry forward policy or the loss carry forward package. Loss carry forward ማለት as I said it some time ago, assume you are operating in 2011 Ethiopian calendar and you have a loss of 2 million, but in 2012 Ethiopian calendar you have a profit of 4 million. So tax calculate የሚደረገው የባለፈው አመት ሎሳችሁ ተቀንሶ ነው. So to encourage the investors, there are a number of countries that do not like this. So the loss carry forward policy. So the loss carry forward policy means an accounting technique. Says it's an accounting technique that applies the current year's net operating loss to the future year's profit to reduce tax liability and track profit somehow accurately in a long time. So that's the one, some of the incentivization package. እኔን የምላችሁ ምንድነው more practical እንድትሆኑና really አንዳንድ investigate ለማድረግ ስትገቡ really what are the issues that we can deal with. So I don't want to say I told you international marketing to buy. It's not like that. You need to really have your foot on the ground and then try to link what's on the ground and then up to the international level. Okay, እኛ ይሄን ሁሉ እያለን ነው ያለን እንደዚህ አይነት encouraging policy ያለን we as Ethiopians and government as Ethiopian government is really trying to do its level best to attract investors and even to say that our business operating environment is fine. We are the best in terms of, let's say, providing competition ብዙ ማውራት እንችላለን ግን እኛ የምንለው ብቻ ሳይሆን አንድ ሰው ስለራሱ የሚለው ብቻ ሳይሆን ሌሎችስ እኛን ማን ይሉናል the big question like that. How are we being perceived by others? Okay. So Ethiopia on the eye of investments, like it's a function of ease of doing business. By the way, investment depends on the level of ease of doing business. So ከአንድመቶ ዘጠና ሀገሮች ለምሳሌ ይሄ የመቼ ራንኪንግ መሰላችሁ በ2017 የወጣ ራንክ ነው if you see this ራንካቸው ከ1 እስከ 38 የሆኑ በብዛት ካናዳ and some European countries even Australia እና some part of China አካባቢ ይዛል ራንካቸው ከ39 እስከ 70 is mainly North Korea, South Korea, Russia and even South Africa and some part of North Africa and then some part of Latin America and of course Mexico. And if you see the rank that most of the African countries have, they are in the rank of ከ150 እስከ 194ኛ okay ለምሳሌ የ2016 ease of doing business report ማለት ነው ease of doing score ይባላል countries are periodically being monitored being evaluated and ranked annually you can get it simply you can browse ease of doing business score or ease of doing business report starting from 2004-2005 እስከዛ ድረስ ላለፉት 16-17-15 ዓመታት ይሄ ሪፖርት እየወጣ I will ask you one question whether this report is true or false definitely it will affect a country's image because international traders international investors those agents that want to work with Ethiopian businessmen within Ethiopia in general እኛ በመንሰብከው ብቻ ሊመጡልን አይችሉም okay የፈለገ ዲነርም ሆነ ምን ቴካዌ ብትጋብዘው what is the business in it ብሎ የሚጠይቅ ኢንቨስተር ባለበት ራሽናል ናቸው ኢንቨስተርስ so let's see in 2016 for example the maximum score is considered from 100 Rwanda it has 56 rank it means what 190 ሀገሮች ሩዋንዳ በ2016 ቢዝነስን በአቅሎ በመስራት በቀላሉ ለቢዝነስ ምቹ በመሆን 56ኛ ናት South Africa has a rank of this Kenya has a rank of this Uganda ያለ ይላል even Egypt had that average sub-Saharan Africa ስኮራቸው ሰማያዊ ነው anyway every rank has its own score Ethiopia for example 2016 has a rank of 159 with a score being somehow a bit it's closer to sub-Saharan but below what do you learn from this From 190s, we are with a rank of 159. It means we are better than some 41 countries. Rwanda, Eritrea, 189. This is what could distance score. Our international reports, really, what is their implication for doing business or conducting international business? 2017, for example, after 1 year, if you consider Ethiopia, yeah, it is really with a rank of 179. Yeah, almost ቀንሰናል ማለት ነው። ይሄ ማለት ግን ኢፈርት አላሳየንም ማለት ነው። ብዙ the country has made a number of efforts to improve the business operating environment and then it has improved its score from 100 from 47 to 5 up to 47.25 እስከ 55 9.6 ኢምፕሩቭ አድርጋለች። ነገር ግን ደረጃውን ስናይ ከ159ኛ ወደ 179ኛ እንደውም በኢንተርምስ ኦፍ ደረጃ ምን ሆነ ማለት ወርዳለች ማለት ነው። ይሄ ማለት ነው ሌሎችም ሀገሮች ኢምፕሩቭ እያደረጉ ነበር ቢዝነስ ኢንቫይሮንመንታቸው። ስለዚህ የኢትዮጵያ ኢምፕሩቭመንት ሌሎች ካደረጉት ኢምፕሩቭመንት ጋር ትንሽ ቅር ይላል ማለት ነው፣ ይቀርባል ማለት ነው። ሶ ምንድነው ሪሊ የሚደረገው? in order to get this rank what's expected from countries የሚለውን እንደምትጠብቁ ኤክስፔክት አደርጋለሁ። if you see for example the sub-Saharan average is a big step by the way, like 75, and one of the reason in this case is probably the peace in the settlement in South Sudan ሊሆን ይችላል። ከ49.5 እስከ 75 is a big step። ምን ማለት ነው? ኢትዮጵያ ካሻሻለችው ነጥብ በብዛት መሻሻል ያለው ሰብሳራን አፍሪካ ሀገሮች ውስጥ ያለው መሻሻል ትልቅ ነው ማለት። ስለዚህ ቅድም ያለው ትክክል ነው ማለት። so what are really the scores? ይሄንን 179 rank ለማግኘት in order to get this 179 rank ምንድን ነው የሚቆጠረው? what's being measured in the question? for example in terms of starting a business አገሮች የሚወዳደሩት how easy is the country to launch a business በሚለው we are with this rank ወደ 11 ሀገሮች ብቻ ነው የምንቀድመው ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ቢዝነስን በመጀመር በጣም አስቸጋሪ ሀገር ናት ማለት ነው ሀገራችን። it's very difficult to start a business. Therefore, without starting a business, how can we deal with international business? So it's very, very important. That's what I am telling you. So what are the difficulties to start a business? I will share you. እንደገና ያንዳንዱ criteria ደግሞ scores ወይም ደግሞ መገለጫዎች አሉት። Well, one of the scores is the issue of financing. Getting access to finance is very, very difficult because we are really a developing country. The other one is even the processes, and we can't have like the energy, the infrastructure. Even dealing with construction permit, we focus on construction because construction is one of the good proxy indicator for starting a business. Construction permits ከ190 ሀገሮች የኛ ሀገር ኮንስትራክሽን በሰዓቱና በአግባቡ በመፍቀድ 176ኛ 14 ሀገሮች ያሉ በልጠው። remember I'm not saying in the world there are 190 countries, I mean compare ከሚደረጉት ኢኮኖሚስ ማለት ነው። Getting access to electricity, for example, we have 127 rank. Registering property, ሀብትን እንኳን በማስመዝገብ 133ኛ ነን። ግን we are in a country that every government official ሳይቀር ሀብቱን ያስመዝግብ ይባላል። እና ያው እንግዲህ ቲዮሪው እና ፕራክቲሱ አልተገናኝቶም ማለት ነው። እና we have to really ማየት ያለብን ብዙ ነገር አለ። Getting credit እንደዛው protecting minority investors, for example some investors may come in group, others may come alone. Anyway, these are the global standard criteria that are helpful to rank this. Even paying tax we are better wise way መቶ ሀገሮች ይበልጣሉ። ታክስ በመክፈል tax processing we are somehow really better. So we are better than even 100 countries. Even trading across borders, this is the best indicator for our cost by the way. Across borders trade በማድረግ አገሪቷ ምን ያህል suitable ናት የሚለው ራንክ ሲሰጠን we have 167 rank. It means somehow difficult ነው ማለት ነው። ምንድነው ችግራችን across border ለማድረግ? So please read on this one. What is really the difficulty? ይሄ ዝም ብሎ ሜይንስትሪም ሚዲያ እንደሚያወራው ሳይሆን be critical and really see where is the problem by the way. Enforcing contracts in terms of contractual reinforcement, it means what we have strong government, it means our institutions so still are better. Finally, in terms of resolving insolvency, ለምሳሌ እዳን በእዳ ውስጥ ወይም ደግሞ tied up በምንሆንበት ጊዜ ያንን insolvency it can be like financial problem, financial insolvency, still we have this limitation. Now I will ask you, do you really accept this? Do we really deserve this ranking? Do you accept this? ትቀበሉታላችሁ? እና ይሄስ ዲዘርቭ ያደርገናል ወይስ ያንሳናል ይበዛብናል? እስኪ ተወያዩ አይዞ። Do we really deserve this? ይሄን ዲዘርቭ ማድረግ አለብን? ይሄኛን ለኛ ዲዘርቭ የሚያደርገን ራንክ ነው ነው ወይስ really ሜቶዶሎጂካል ችግር ሲኖር ይሆን? ወርልድ ባንክ ግሩፕ ኦፍ ኮርስ ሪፖርቱን ከማውጣቱ በፊት ዲስከስ ያደርጋል ከሚኒስትሮች ጋር። እና የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት ዝም ነው የሚለው ራንኪን ያካቸው እንደ ኢትዮጵያ ፕሪሚየር እግር ኳስ ፉትቦል ኮምፕሌን አያደርግም ነው እንዴት ነው really do you think that's the methodology anyway question I cannot answer you here okay check it ምን ሜተድ ተጠቅመው ነው now you are international business students if this ranking is not fair it is you that you have to come to the front and write scientific papers in literature and then argue with some of the experts in the world bank okay if it is right, of course, work on how to improve on this. So I think that's what I am. What do you think are the reasons to have such a rank? So distance from frontier, አሁን ማሟላት ያለብን distance indirectly ቅድም የሚቀር ነው አሁን like starting a business our score really ይቀረናል ማለት ነው. We are on half distance. To make the country to have an easy business startup culture ያለንበት position ገና መሃል ላይ ማለት ነው we are below the standard here we are also below the standard we are here below trading across borders much below the standard minority invest even getting credit much below standard it means that we have to work hard on getting more finance on creating credit 15% ከመቶ ማለት ነው 85% ዲስታንስ ይቀራል ማለት 100 ኪሎ ሜትር ከሆነ ጌቲንግ ክሬዲት በማግኘት 15 ኪሎ ሜትር ብቻ ነው የሄድነው እንዳገር ማለት ነው ስለዚህ 85% ወይም 85 ኪሎ ሜትር ይቀራል ማለት ነው ኦኬ think it that way what does it mean አይኛ ክሬዲት we don't have financial source ይያል ዝም ብለን ማላዘን አይደለም እንዳገር የሚጠበቅብን የምናገኘው ፋይናንስ ዋይዝሊ መጠቀም ፕላስ yesterday ያልኳችሁ ላይ ካውንተር ትሬድ ፖሊሲዎችን more develop ማድረግ በዛ ላይ ብዙ መስራትና ሌሎች አማራጭ ሶርሶችን ማድረግ እንችላለን ፋይናንስ የሚያጥረን ደግሞ ለምንድን ነው why do we really get credit because በጣም depleted ነው ፋይናንሳችን ለምን we have big import export deficit ስላለን ከፍተኛ የሆነ የbalance of payment or deficit ባለበት ሀገር financial service or credit service to investors and extraders መስጠት it's very hard so indirectly no address የምናደርገው ይሄን ችግር ማለት ነው a very good example is to really improve the trade balance anyway I have 5 minutes when we see the import ይሄ ሁሉ ባለበት ሁኔታ of course the country is really importing and exporting if you see the data from 1995 to 2014 let's say አሁንም አለ ብዙ ማየት እንችላለን this is the import you see we are really importing our import is increasing from time to time በጣም import በተለይ ባለፉት 20 አመታት almost ወደ ስንት ማለት እንችላለን 6-7 ጥፍ ነው ያለው you can see it exportም በዛው ነው exportም አርጓል but the increment in export is also clearly visible but the distance between the two is very very big you see what do you learn from this is it negative or positive I see some positive as well as negative አገሪቷ ይሄን ሁሉ ኢምፖርት የኤክስፖርት ያደረገች ይሄንን ኢምፖርት አደረገች ማለት አንደኛ ኢምፖርት የማድረግ አቅም አላት ማለት ነው ሁለተኛ ምናልባት በክሬዲትም ከሆነ ኢምፖርት የምታደርገው በብድር በቃ በጣም ብድር ከፋይ ነች ተብላ ታማኝ ሀገር ነች ማለት ነው anyway ይሄ ነው ሁለቱ አድቫንቴጅ ኦኬ so ትንሽ ሰመራይዝ ስናደርገው what's important is the balance means export minus import will give us trade balance of payment is equal to trade balance is equal to the export value minus import value export value means this blue minus this pink ከዚች blue ላይ pink ከነሱ ኔጌቲቭ ነው so negative so what's important is this negative trade balance you can see how our balance of payment is getting remember this is not some it's billions of dollars for example 2015 we have almost around 11 billion dollar deficit ነው ያለው ምን ማለት ነው የ16.4 ቢሊዮን ዶላር ጉድስ ወደ ሀገር ውስጥ አስገብተናል የ16.4 ቢሊዮን ዶላር ጉድስ ወደ ሀገር አስገብተን somehow ከ10 አካባቢ ወይ 9 ምናምን አካባቢ የሚሆን ቢሊዮን ዶላር ግን ነው ኢምፖርት ያደረግነው ማለት ነው not 10 it's like አምስትም አይሆን closer to 5 የሆነ ነው ቢሊዮን ኤክስፖርት አድርገናል of course our export is increasing but it's incomparable with our imports we have huge trade deficit and I will give you an individual assignment just for your own consumption to see the data after 2014. Try to see the trade balance of Ethiopia from 2015 to 2020 or 2019. Ski iuna tnagrunyalachu. Therefore, ምንድነው really what are we importing and what are we exporting የሚለው ከዚህ በኋላ ምንድነው really ያንዳንዱን ኢምፖርት የምናደርገው 16.4 ቢሊዮን ዶላር የምን ዋጋ ነው እዚህ ሽቶ ነው መኪና ነው ሜሽን ነው ፉድ አይተም ነው ስንዴ ነው ሩዝ ነው then what is that የሚለው we will see that what are the major items that are being imported to Ethiopia I am asking you this question and I am stopping my lectures for today what are the materials that are being imported to Ethiopia so come and try to read and come next time I hope by next time we will complete the whole course and then at the end of the course I will try to deal with the policy aspect that's about the gains from trade if you have question comments or suggestion or additional substantive points that you can or you want to add please the floor is yours ጥያቄ ካላችሁ ያልገባ ነገር ካለ please I'm ready to meet all of you if you have question Adisu can you ask Mr. Adisu
thank you for your wonderful way of teaching I would like to say thank you. I appreciate what you have present already.
Any other question? Any question? Mr. Dejene, I see you online.
No, doctor, thank you.
Martha, Mr. Gazai.
Okay.
Yes, if you have.
Okay, thank you. As I see from this data, it is very different from different sources. For example, I have data of this one, especially for doing business in 2020, as you said, 179. But I have data from World Bank, from also Transparency International.
Please, can you add some voice? I somebody madam.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
አሁን ይሰማኛል እሺ ትንሽ ድምጽ ጨመር አድርገኝ
as I this doing business data
okay ato dejene
from you Ethiopia is 2060-70 of the 179 but
yes
as I have data it says 101
Okay, I can share you by the way. I can share you the World Bank report 2016 and 17, and you can also share us definitely. Probably some countries or some organizations they may have their own criteria, but I really follow the World Bank criteria. But the case of transparency like that, I don't trust them all. By the way, this is my approach. I don't have much confidence on what they are doing, but whether we like it or not, at least you can compare to other ተቋማት ትንሽ የተሻለ credible source ነው ብዬ ስለማስበው ነው እንጂ አገር ወይም ደግሞ ከተቋም ራንኩ ሊለያይ ይችላል። You got my point?
Okay.
ግን በጣም አሪፍ ጥያቄ ነው ባይዘወይ እንደው ጊዜ ካላችሁ ease of doing business report ኢትዮጵያ 2016 እና 2017 separately download ማድረግ ትችላላችሁ. I took it from that. I can share you if you want. Probably the reason for the ranking difference is the criteria they are really considering, okay? You get my point?
Yes. Yeah.
Because transparency, for example, mainly for like the transparent issues like the transparency criteria as well. ይሄኛው ደግሞ በቢዝነስ ኦፕሬቲንግ ኢንቫይሮንመንት ላይ ነው ክራይቴሪያው የሚሆነው ብዬ አስባለሁ። the criteria በደንብ እስከተጠቀሙ ድረስ የየራሳቸው ራንኪንግ ነው። ለምሳሌ if you consider for example the ranking of universities across the globe አንዳንዶች ኮንሲደር የሚያደርጉት more on research ላይ ሊሆን ይችላል። አንዳንዶች ደግሞ mainly on academic quality ሊሆን ይችላል። አንዳንዶች ደግሞ mainly on publication ሊሆን ይችላል። አንዳንዶች ደግሞ on ምን ያህል ቴክኖሎጂ ኢኖቬት ያደረገ ሲሆን አንዳንዶች ደግሞ ምን ያህል ኢንተርናሽናል ኮንፈረንስ anyway it's really on the criteria they are really taking, but for the matter of this course I really trust and rely on the World Bank criteria. If this World Bank criteria, if we can have a doubt by the, for example, I personally have a doubt really, do they really measure my country properly and are giving እኔ ኢትዮጵያ እንደ ዲዘርቭ አታረግም ብዬ አስባለሁ። ከዚህ የተሻለ ዲዘርቭ ታረጋለች ብዬ አስባለሁ። ምክንያቱም በጣም ብዙ ነገሮች አሉ። if you start a business in Ethiopia እንደፈለገ የሚያደርግ ብዙ ነገር ላይኖር ይችላል። I mean this is my belief and የተሻለ ራንኪንግ ይኖራል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ግን ይሄን ደግሞ ዲስፕሩቭ ለማድረግ ስሞክር ዳታው አለ ምን አለ ኢነርጂው ይጠይቃልና anyway በተቻለ መጠን ለምሳሌ ከትራንስፓረንሲ ኢንተርናሽናል ሞር ወርልድ ባንክ ዳታቤዝ ብንጠቀም ምክንያቱም አገሮች ለምሳሌ ፖሊሲ ሲሰሩ ብዙ ጊዜ ለወርልድ ባንክ የአይኤምኤፍ ዳታቤዝ ማየት ይቻላል እንጂ የተለያየ ኢንጂኦ ምናምን የሆነ ይሄ ማለት ግን ትራንስፓረንሲ ሮንግ ነው ማለት አይደለም but the emphasis they give for different criteria is really different ከሚለው ግን ጥያቄው በጣም አሪፍ ጥያቄ ነው ባይዘው ደስ ይለኛል ባይዘው ይሄ ማለት እናንተችሁ ታገናኛላችሁ
ድምጻችሁ ረበሸ እኮ እናንተ ምንድነው
ከዛ ፐርስፔክቲቭ እንድታዩት ነው so I am on
ግን ይሰማል ድምጻችሁ ምናልባት ኮኔክሽን አላጠፋሽም ማለት ነው
105 ላይ ነው ያለውት
ሁለት ሶስት ሰዎች ናቸው አብራችሁ ስለሆነ ነገር ታወራላችሁ ተከራከራላችሁ
if you have any question suggestion or comments ካላችሁ
እሺ ደዛ መስሎኝ ነው በቃ እንግዲህ
ካልሆነ ግን please try to read and come for our next class it will be enough for today. Thank you very much. I have finished on time and then see you next week.
Thank you.